All right, so today I am here with the famous Jamie Gruber.
So famous.
And we are here today in Puntacana Village at The Ritual. And The Ritual is a cigar bar here in the Puntacana Village. I've never been here in this particular cigar bar, but of course I've been to Puntacana Village. And so I am here not only to collaborate with Jamie, but he has given me the honor to be a part of his first cigar smoke here in Dominican Republic or
Ever.
period?
Period, ever, first time.
Man, I'm honored.
Well, yeah, man, good to have you. It's my honor. I said that to you a long time ago. Like, dude, the first time I smoke a cigar, it's got to be with Jay. So I'm ready.
Man, I think I've elevated myself. You know, I'm a little elevated. So, just so you know, I am not a cigar aficionado. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
But I enjoy smoking cigars.
Yeah.
And I know what I like. And the cigars that I like, one of my favorite cigars are Arturo Fuentes, which in Santo Domingo, of course, you guys know I live in Santo Domingo, and they have a Arturo cigar bar and lounge there. So I'm very familiar with the Arturo brand, and these are my favorite cigars. So we're going to start Jamie off with a good cigar, which is Arturo Fuentes. Now, I'm sure that people are going to be out there and say, "Oh, there are some better cigars out there," and I'm sure there are. But I like this. I like to smoke $15 and below.
Is that what these are?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be that here, but typically, I don't. You know, I know people who smoke $80, $100 cigars. I don't like cigars that much. So we're going to go ahead and get started with, you know, showing Jamie how to.
We're smoking right away.
Yeah, we're going to smoke. We're going to start off.
All right.
And one thing I know he knows how to do is take the wrap off.
Yeah. Start with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I have a hate relationship with plastic. Plastic has always been tough for me for some reason, like to open things. So you say I know how to do it, but
I don't think he knows.
There we go. I got it. I figured it out. I've always, you see me trying to open like a plastic bag. I look like an idiot. So all right. So
the funny thing with these particular cigars, especially the double chateau, it comes with this wrap around here.
Yeah.
And people don't know to take this thing off. And they start smoking it. Yeah, you just slide it out. Slide it up.
Oh, slide it up.
And take that off. You know, you start burning it with it and it's like you're catching on fire.
Oh, no kidding. So this thing, I would have just started smoking it. Right. So good to know.
So we're going to start by using a cutter, and we're going to cut it. I like to cut mine small like that.
Okay.
Because I don't like to pull a lot of smoke.
So, yeah, me neither.
So
what does it do? Oh, look at that. It was like puts a little, so I just put this in here and that's harder than it looks.
No, push it, yeah.
There we go, that's why. I almost took a finger off too. Okay. And now how do I smoke this thing? Like I understand it lights on this end and smoke comes out that end, but do I like hold it through the nose? Like what do I do?
Now, that right there put you on your back. Don't breathe it in, hold it in the nose.
All right. Oh, gracias.
So, in typical fashion, what I like to do when I'm smoking is I like to smoke and drink me some leyenda on the rocks. Jamie is being difficult today, and he wants to drink water. But
well, can I tell why?
Yeah, tell him.
So I'm on the carnivore diet currently. I've been on it 2+ weeks. If you don't know what carnivore is, I eat meat and animal products only. So breakfast is eggs, lunch is a steak, dinner's a steak. Done. I can have cheese, I can have butter. That's it. But all sugars, all alcohols, everything is cut out. So you just caught me in the middle, man.
Okay.
Normally I love tequila old fashions. That's my drink.
Okay.
That's what I would have right now.
That's pretty good with a cigar.
Agreed. Well, I'm sure. But today it's got to be water. I got to stick to my diet. All right. So tell me now, what do I do?
Okay. So once you light it, you want to pull and then release. Don't inhale. Right. Just like Bill Clinton. Don't inhale.
But just like literally like.
Hold it a little bit, yeah. Yeah, like that.
In the mouth.
Right.
Out.
Right.
It's like a second.
Right. Don't swallow it. Don't take it through the nose.
I'm so scared right now.
Really?
You have no idea. Yeah. I'm going to like cough, puke, all of that on camera. All right, let's tell me what to do.
I like to burn it here for a minute. Well, not for a minute, for a couple seconds. And then once you do that, do a couple of pulls, and then I like to make sure that it's all orange there and lets you know that.
This is getting complicated, Jay.
Right.
So burn it for a second, burn it in my mouth, make sure it's orange, suck it in, blow it out.
Right. Something like that.
Up, down thing. Am I doing all right? Mm-hmm. All right, so now I did that. Now put it in.
Put it in. Pull it.
Whew. I did that wrong.
No.
I did that wrong. It was like in the back of the throat, and I was like, puke it up before it goes down.
So the idea is just to.
Do I have to keep doing this?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, you should be good.
Let me put that down for 1 sec. Get a drink. The idea, go ahead.
The idea is just to do a light pull. It's like, I think you put too much.
Jay, when I do things, I do them all the way.
I see.
All right?
I see. Not 100% pull. Do like 25% straight from here. Man.
You're supposed to feel in the back of your throat?
No.
Oh, I still do.
Yeah.
All right, so let me try this again.
Light pull.
Like,
Light.
you make it look cool.
It's not lit. Try it again.
I thought you said I didn't need this thing. All right, so do this and then suck it in.
Yeah, lightly. Just a light pull. There you go. Now let it out. You're doing some swallowing. You have.
I'm not.
Pause.
I don't swallow. That's the name of this video.
Do not swallow.
He doesn't swallow. That's what he needs. Jamie Gruber doesn't. Nah, never mind. Anyway, I'll keep going with this thing. But wow, okay. I think I got a little better that time. It wasn't as bad. But it's like you just stop it before it goes down is hard.
Really?
For me,
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just used to like consuming like food, drink, like in, down.
It kind of stops right here with me.
Try this one more time. It's like a baby smoke. Okay, one here.
You're doing good.
I'll get there.
You're doing good.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
This is good. How are you smoking without lighting it every time? Why am I having to light it?
Because I pull mine right.
Oh, got it. So I'm not doing it right, so therefore, okay.
Hey, but I think for a start, you're doing pretty good. So I know you and I have been planning to kind of get together and do this collaboration for a few months now, and you know, kind of the holidays got in the way, schedule conflicts and things like that. But I wanted to do this particular interviews because I was intrigued by your content. I don't know how I came across your content, but I remember when it showed up.
I know how it did. But go ahead.
You know I did.
Yeah.
You know, I was intrigued by it. So about your story, you know, a lot of your story is similar to mine.
Yeah.
Being in corporate America, leaving corporate America, moving to Dominican Republic, Dominican wives, met them around the same time, and plus we look alike. So
Very similar. Yeah. Happens all the time. Jamie? No. Yeah.
So before we get into all of that, you know, I kind of want to go back a little bit further.
Like one or two? Okay.
Around about, let's see, like, where are you from?
Got it.
Yeah.
Born on Long Island in a town called Bay Shore, South Shore of Long Island, for those that might know where that is. Grew up it was kind of a bunch of moves. So my first home where I lived up until the age of 7, I think, was in East Islip. My grandfather passed away. He lived in Bay Shore, and my mother was left the home, didn't feel right selling or renting it out. So we moved from East Islip to Bay Shore. I was there for 2 years. My father was a plumber, service manager for a big plumbing company called Sloman's. For those who are from New York, you may know them as Sloman Shield now. They're like an alarm company, ironically. They went from plumbing to alarms. But he was a service manager for them and a big hunter. My dad loved hunting, fishing, all that stuff. So he buys this cabin in the middle of nowhere, upstate New York, like middle of nowhere. 17 acres, next to farms, dirt road, which is a back road to another dirt road. And it was this rickety little cabin up in the woods. And we eventually moved there when I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old. So that was my upbringing. And then, we lived in upstate New York until like I graduated high school and everything. So I'm from New York originally, but kind of all over New York for those that know it.
Right. Okay. Because for some reason I thought that you were actually born in upstate New York, but you were born in Long Island.
Long Island.
Because I know when people say they're from New York and they say they're from upstate New York, people from New York City don't claim upstate New Yorkers as New Yorkers.
And vice versa.
So you guys don't claim
New York City's different. Like New York City's fine. Like Long Island thinks upstate is a bunch of like hayseeds, and upstate thinks Long Island is a bunch of narcissists, and they're both right. To be honest with you, New York City's its own beast, man. New York City, like if you're on either side of it, you spend a lot of time there. Like field trips to New York City, Rockefeller Center at Christmas. There's like traditions living around the city, but the city is the city. Like those weird, really crazy accents are more like Long Island, maybe Staten Island. But like when you get to Manhattan, Queens is kind of a crazy accent. All of that, it's its own. That is New York for sure. But yeah, downstaters hate upstaters, upstaters hate downstaters.
Gotcha. So what was it like growing up as a kid in upstate New York?
Honestly, it was pretty like casual. My parents they've been married still to this day. They're actually, they're celebrating their anniversary next week. They're 53 years. I had 2 older sisters. We had a regular middle class upbringing. My parents made maybe 40 grand a year, like max, right? It wasn't like they were rolling in it, but we never wanted for anything. So I had a pretty basic upbringing. The biggest culture shock was when I was on Long Island. I went from, Bayshore graduates like 1,500 kids, right? And there's like 7, 8 elementary schools, there's a few middle schools, and like one giant high school, maybe 2 there, I don't even know. And then I moved to this town, man, where it's 30 kids per grade, 400 kids total, K through 12, one building. So this like little tiny, like everyone knows everyone town.
Right.
So that was a big shock to the system. And probably the most turbulent part of my upbringing was right in that move, because I go from Long Island to upstate. I go with this big, thick accent, this little kid with a thick accent, to a place where they don't like that accent.
Right.
And I got the crap kicked out of me every day of 4th grade, every day.
Yeah, because I remember you saying you got bullied when you were in school, but you got bullied when you were in upstate New York.
When I moved upstate, yeah.
I was thinking it was...
You would think that.
Right.
A little bit more brash, but no, man. Like on Long Island, I almost got robbed a few times. There's stuff like that. But upstate was where it was like, I'm not from around there. Like I've said this before, but I would say things like, "Hey, let me ask you something." Like that's how I talk, right? Like, "Oh, is that your dog?"
Your dog.
I had that accent. Boy, it got kicked out of me.
Right. So what do you fall in line in terms of your sisters and brothers?
3rd. I'm the youngest. 2 older sisters, and then I'm the last one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Nothing came out.
Nothing came.
Well, my mouth.
Just start pulling when you light it like
that. Yeah. I held it too long, but there was something on that one.
Yeah, there was something on that one.
I got that one. Yeah.
Whew. So as a kid, how would you describe yourself as a kid? Were you one of those bad kids, or were you just?
No, I was a people pleaser for sure. I was a people pleaser my whole life, but I was not a bad kid. I was a very compliant kid.
Gotcha.
Right? Like I was in everybody's way. I wanted to make sure I wasn't. I never wanted to be out of turn. I never wanted to be, And honestly, I was pretty shy. I was a pretty. I had my moments where I could let my personality show when it was like the right space, like theater in school or whatever.
Right.
But beyond that, I was pretty shy. And honestly, for a lot of my years, like I really enjoyed just sort of being in my room by myself playing, or I remember, renting a movie on a Friday night when I was a little older, like my teenage years, and just like down in a bag of Doritos and watching a movie by myself. I didn't want to be around people. Right. So I was I don't want to say introverted, but I and still to this day, I like my space. I like my own space.
Have you done anything that your mom and your parents found out about that you was embarrassed about?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, a little older, but yeah. Do you want that story?
Yeah.
So this was in New York at the time. I don't know if it's still the case. If you didn't have, I forget, somebody will know, so you could drop it below. But if you didn't have like a blue card, I think it was, for driving, so like you can get your permit and your license quick, but you had to get like driver's ed or something to get like a blue card to drive after 9 p.m. So if you had a license, there was a restriction that you couldn't drive past 9 p.m. My parents were militant about that. Like, you cannot drive after 9 p.m. And I went skiing with 2 buddies in high school, at this hill in middle of upstate New York. And I remember we were coming back late, like too late, right? And we had this my dad's white Ford Ranger pickup truck. And because it was winter, he had cinder blocks in the back of it to weigh it down. So we're driving home, and there's a shortcut. I know the shortcut, but it's probably not the right time to take this shortcut. It's like a lot of snow on the road, really icy and slick. But dude, I take this corner and hit this shortcut off the main road onto this road that goes down like this. This is dirt road, right? If it's not covered in ice and snow. So I take this turn, and I start like barreling down this road just to get home, like as close to 9 o'clock as possible. It'll be late, but as close to 9 o'clock. I'll never forget my friends Josh and Martin, one in the front, and it was like an extended cab. He was in the back. And I just start going, and it starts kind of like wobbling, and I don't know what to do. Like I don't know how to keep up with it or whatever. And I just crank the wheel, and this thing just starts spinning. And we hit like a bridge. So on the side of the bridge, it was covered in snow, thankfully. So we get out, we look at it, and it's like, oh, okay, no damage. The grill, it just had some snow in it, whatever. And we hop in. Actually, no, I'm sorry, we didn't look at it there. We just get in, I turn around, I go back to the main road, and I hightail it home. Once we got to my town, there's a little gas station on the corner. We get out and we look at the front, and it's like, oh, good, clear the snow out, no big deal. But then we go to the back. So that spin turned the cinder blocks into missiles and the tailgate into tinfoil. Like the tailgate was like just bottled up. And I had about 0.7 miles. I know that 0.7 miles for a reason, to get from the gas station to home and come up with a story.
Right.
And so that night, the story was giant party in the lodge. These idiots, whatever they were, drunk, and they must have come down and taken the cinder blocks and started smashing them against the tailgate.
Right.
It's the only explanation for why that tailgate's a mess. And it's funny, my mom bought it. If she's watching, she won't believe that. But my mom bought it, hook, line, and sinker. My dad, he was like, okay, okay, like we'll go with it. He made the insurance claim probably under that story, right? Not like a comp loss vandalism, not a collision. Right. And it got fixed. Years later, I told him about it, and my dad was like, yeah, all right. My mom was like, no, come on. Like, I was the honest kid, right? So that's the one story that jumps out about sort of defying them. Everything else I did, thankfully I didn't get caught, or I didn't have to explain it to them, getting drunk on a weeknight or whatever. Like I didn't have to explain any of that to them, but that was the big one.
Right. And so you went to college, and what?
I majored in registration.
You majored in registration. Oh, you majored in registration.
I went to 3 different colleges, all for a short period of time.
All for a short period. Was it just not for you?
Not for me.
Not for you.
No.
Okay. Because I was going to ask you, what kind of student were you? Were you like into your books, or into the women, or into your school?
I was friend zoned with women. I was not a kid that dated a lot in school. I was very popular, like especially because I was nice to everybody. Small school, remember? So it's not like we had a high school. It was everybody's there. So I was very nice to everybody. I was well liked by most people. The only ones maybe were like the like that uber jock a-hole, like not my kind of guy. I'm not their kind of guy, but like very well liked, very popular. I was the prom king. So just to give you an idea, But no, I was not I hated school. School to me, I remember thinking this, man, like, I would get a D in a class that I don't care about, which was pretty much all of them, right? But I would get a D. And the teacher, the guidance counselor, I remember thinking this at the time, they'd be like, we got to sit down, we got to talk about improving this and whatever. And I'm like, but I passed. They're like, yes, but with a little more effort, you could get even better grades and get new. I'm like, yeah, but I made no effort and passed because I don't like this. So you're saying I need to put effort into something I don't like to pass better? Like I passed, like who cares, right? Like that was my mindset all through school.
With the D.
With everything, every class. 1 year in 10th grade, because this is the 1 year I went to a larger school because my little school merged with a big school, and then I moved to another little school for 11th and 12th. But in 10th grade, it was a big enough school to disappear. Dude, I don't know how I got through 10th grade. I skipped probably 70% of my classes. I never went to class. I would go to the library, I'd find an excuse to leave, I would never go to class. To the point where I was well liked, and I learned about influence then. My teachers would pull for me, even though I'm skipping their class. So they would find a way to help me pass.
Gotcha.
And it was just like, wow. So on force of personality, you know what I mean? Like you can go further in life than accomplishing what somebody tells me I need to. That was a major, major moment for me, knowing that like who you know better than what you know.
Right.
Your ability to interact and have a conversation, not lie. Like I did lie, don't get me wrong. Like, that wasn't my takeaway. Like, ooh, if I just lie my way through life.
Right.
But the ability to have, like, to be vulnerable and have a conversation and be real with people is endearing, and people pull for you. I learned that probably 10th grade.
Gotcha. So I guess it's safe to say you're not a supporter of college.
I think college is great if you want an experience, and I think college is great if you have a specialty. You want to be an engineer, if you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, go for it, right?
Yeah.
And if it's just like, my kids want to go to college for business administration or whatever the hell they want to go for, it's fine. But I want them to lean more into the social.
Right.
Like, learn how to be on your own.
Right.
Learn how to make decisions. Learn how to, like, peer pressure and pull yourself out of situations you want to be in. Like, that's what college would be good for my kids.
But that's an expensive experience.
But if that's what they want, then go for it.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, man, I think college is a waste of more people's time than are in, like, more of a larger percentage or a very large percentage of people in college, it is a waste of time and a waste of money.
I agree.
Probably, maybe more than 50%.
Right.
That's my take.
You probably way more than 50%.
Right?
Yeah.
Again, doctor, lawyer, pre-med, pre-law, I get it. Like, I want you to know what you're doing if you're going to operate on me, for sure. Engineers, I want you to know how to build a building.
Right.
There's probably a few more. CPA maybe, but like, by and large, man, like, I think the trades are underrated. I think they are the future. You see communities going up nowadays, beautiful brand new homes. It's electricians, it's plumbers, man. No one knows how to do anything anymore.
Right, exactly.
Those are the people that are making the money because I got to pay them. I don't know what I'm doing, right? So, like, my dad's a plumber. I never learned from him. So,
and those careers are trades you should be looked down on, and they're really valuable.
Yeah,
and the plumbers make a lot of money.
They make a ton, man. They make more than most people sitting in a cube right now that think they're doing it right.
Exactly. So I know you didn't go to college, but you were able to, based on some of the things I know about you, was able to land a job doing insurance claims.
Yeah.
So what did you do to lead up? Did you do any jobs, odds and end jobs before then to lead you up to there?
So when I was 16, I got a job, and it's funny. I was a kid that liked to sit on the couch on Friday. Man, when I got that job, it was Ponderosa. Did you have Ponderosas in Alabama? Did you have Steak and Ale?
Yeah, we had Steak and Ale.
Same company.
Okay.
Different concept. So Ponderosa Steakhouse. I worked there as a buffet boy, like on the buffet. Dude, that's all I wanted to do. New York capped you at 20 hours a week. You couldn't work more at that age, but I would work as much as I could. I loved working. So I did that. I climbed the ranks. By 19, I was a manager. 18, I was a manager. 18 or 19, making, get this, $21,000 a year. That was my salary, 21 grand a year. So I did that, and this is where I was jumping in and out of college. Like, after high school, I went to Ithaca College for 2 weeks, left to get my money back. I didn't want to be there. Come back to work at Ponderosa. I move up the chain. I went to the local college, which was SUNY Oneonta, and did part-time because I felt like I should. I was still only 19, 20. And I hated it, but I also hated the job. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to go finish college. I quit everything. I go to Plattsburgh, which is like Montreal almost. And I was there for a month and flamed out. When I left there, I went to Ruby Tuesday, and I was a manager for them for 6 months. So that was my experience. It was all restaurant management. And after that 6 months is when I interviewed and got the job at Progressive. And they required a degree, but I was able to get that job without a degree.
Gotcha. We got more in common than I thought. I used to work, I was a manager at a buffet.
No kidding. Which one?
Well, not a manager. I was assistant manager.
Yeah.
I was.
I wasn't the general manager.
Right.
Yeah, right.
It was Bourne Hills Country Buffet.
Was it a local spot?
Actually, it was based out of Pensacola, Florida. Actually, I take that back. It was based out of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, but they had restaurants in Pensacola and Mobile. Yep. So I was.
See what I did there? You didn't see it.
You didn't. No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, Pensacola.
Yeah. Hey, we got to capture these moments.
I had it. They saw it. It's okay. Keep going.
So yeah, I was a real good buffet guy. I knew how to change those hot pans out.
With the towel or with the
spoon
to pull it out,
and then dump the other one back.
That's hilarious. Yeah, to put the old on the new.
Right,
yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, man, that was my thing.
That was me. I could run the whole buffet by myself when usually they needed 2 or 3. I was good.
Right. Man, we do that. We have a lot in common.
There you go. I just went big brand. Ponderosa. I went national brand. That was the only difference.
Yeah.
I'm hoity-toity like that. But yeah, that was my working career before going to Progressive. And honestly, Progressive was kind of a continuation of 10th grade. Buddy of mine, Mike, worked for them as an adjuster, referred me to them. They required a degree, but because I was a referral of somebody, they allowed me to interview. And so I remember interviewing, and dude, like that's my space. Like I'm smart enough, well-spoken enough, and everything to have a good conversation. So the interview style that they have at still to this day is experiential. So they're like, tell me about a time this happened, tell me about a time that happened. And they want you to outline it in like, here's the situation, here's what happened, and here's the result. That's how they want you to give the answers. I mean, easy. So I went in, I interviewed, they called me a day later and said, actually they called me on the way home and said, we're gonna waive your degree requirement and we wanna hire you, and I took the job.
Gotcha. So you ended up working there for how many years?
21.
21 years. So you went from entry level, I assume, all the way up to where you were making what?
400, 500, 600 grand a year. Yeah, it was over 400. It all depended on the stock option, but it was 400 plus.
Gotcha. So this is where I came into your journey when I started watching your YouTube videos when you were, I think you were still working there, or no, you had just finished.
Had to be.
Yeah. Well, I think you cleaned out your office or something like, or you went back to get
You saw that?
Yeah.
You've been following me from that point?
I went back to look at some of your videos. So you had a video. Well, I think you were still.
Yeah, it's still on my channel.
Yeah. And you were either just quit or you were going back in to put in your resume, something like that.
That was it. I quit. That was my last day in the office pulling all my stuff out. Yeah.
Right. So for me, I've always been intrigued by people who, quit their jobs and to do something that they feel inspired to do.
Yeah.
But for me, it's even more intriguing when someone that was at a level that you were, making almost $500,000 a year, decides to, I don't want to do that anymore. It's different when you're working at Amazon in a warehouse.
Sure.
And say, hey, I want to quit and I want to be a content creator. I want to quit and I want to pursue my passion. That's easily replaced if it doesn't work out. What you did is not really that easily the skill sets you still had, you could have got
I'll disagree. I'm going to disagree.
You're going to disagree?
Well, yeah. All right. So, you know this. I'll use our content as an example, right? How do I put this? We like to talk about the haters,
right.
The people that troll and comment and don't make any sense. None of you people are that, but somebody will be. So, I know I've posted stuff where, and I'm sure you have as well, where it'll be like. I remember this early on. It was like $5,000 to $8,000 a month to live like a parallel life in a Puntacana, right? Which at the beginning when I put that out there and they got all this pushback, whoa! But I remember some people saying like, "Wait a minute, no one makes that much money," and I was like, "Well, actually, a lot of people do. Look at the percentage of household incomes." And the person replied back and actually put in the comments on this video, "Hey everyone, he meant household income." I was like, why does that matter? Here's my point. I think if you're making 45 grand a year, replacing 45 grand a year, it feels like a lot to do. When you look up at somebody making 500 grand a year, you can't even imagine that, right? Like, and you would say to yourself, like, 500 grand? Like, I'm making 400 more than I need. Like, I'm living on 45 grand a year. But when you're making 500 grand, you're living and expecting a life at 500 grand.
Right.
And I believe all of us have a thermometer inside of us, like a thermostat,
right.
An income thermostat, right? Like if you've made 50 grand at Amazon, then you'll find your way to making 50 grand somewhere else, job, outside of job, or whatever. If your thermostat is set to 500, then you're going to find a way to make 500 grand. The good and bad of that is I know how to make 500 grand, and I can do that outside of my job, but I don't know how to make more. Right? So like I'm still like without the restriction of a job telling me this is my salary band, like my thermostat is set. It's a good thermostat, don't get me wrong, right? But like I disagree. Not that like I agree with you mathematically. Yes. Much easier to replace 40 than 500.
Right.
100%.
Right.
But I think the people in each of those levels, whatever their amount is, it's like that is still daunting to replace. Like, all right, so if I were to say on this camera right now, like, oh, what is it, like a couple grand a month? Yeah, okay. Somebody might be like, couple grand a month? Like, dude, I can't even spend, my budget's under $2,000 a month.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to be cool, but I'm just saying like, that is my, like for me, a couple grand a month has become not too much.
Right.
I hope it stays that way. But for a lot of people, a couple grand a month is insane. So if you said to me, hey, Jamie, you're making 500 grand a year, you can quit, and all you need to do is but you need to make $2,000 a month outside your job. I'd be like, yeah, okay, done. I'll quit tomorrow.
Right.
But if you're making 40 grand a year and told to make 2 grand a month, you're like, how do I make that's half my salary.
Right.
$24,000 a year.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think I agree mathematically it's harder to replace the bigger amount, but I think mindset-wise, no matter where you are, that's your thermometer. That's where you're set, or your thermostat. I keep saying thermometer. That's your thermostat. That's where you're set, so it feels daunting to replace that no matter who you are.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes sense. You put that in perspective. So while you were working, at your job, what was that event that happened that you decided, hey, I don't want to do this anymore?
So there's two. The first decision was 30 days after I got the executive position. So 17 years in, I got the job that paid me the $400 to $500. It wasn't like I moved around. I flew 48, 50 weeks a year for a few years. And dude, it was a grind to get to that level. A lot of people are like, oh, well, it's the must be nice crowd.
Right.
It's like, must be nice. My wife almost divorced me. And we had a brand new baby and I'm not there, right? Like, not good. Right? It was tough to get there. So I get the dream job. I moved to Michigan. Within 30 days, I knew this was a mistake. Like, something in me broke. And so that was moment one that I knew, even though I wouldn't say it in that moment, like, I can't do this.
Why did you know that? Was it because of the pressure from your wife, or you just?
No, the wife pressure was off at this point because the move, while it was a promotion, also meant I didn't travel. So she's like, great. We're moving to Michigan. We don't know anybody there, but you're home. Awesome. So she was happy. She was good. No, it broke because I spent 7-8 years going all out for an executive position. And I say all out, dude, I applied probably 11 different places. And these interviews are killer, like tons of prep work. You're flying around for them, everything else. I interviewed in Dallas, in New Jersey, in New England, where I was living at the time, in Florida, in Missouri, in New Mexico. Dude, I interviewed everywhere, anywhere I could go for an executive position. No. You're this close, you're this close, you're this close. I got Michigan. Finally, I got the job. Like, this was everything, like stock options, equity, everything. Like, I'm set. 39 years old at that point. I'm set for life, and I would be. If I were there, I'd be set for life. You make a good living. So imagine, like, everything you're doing your whole life, what you believe is best for your family, best for you, best for everything is that job.
Right.
And then you get that job, and you're like, I don't want this job. Right? Like, it was like, wow, what I've been, the 7 years that I put my head down and went after this thing, 7-8 years, whatever it was, like, there was something in me saying, this isn't it.
Right.
This isn't for you. What I logically thought was, oh, okay, you know what? I'm just not compensated or at the level of my talent within this organization. So once I hit my talent level, I'm going to make it.
Right.
But the reality was, it was telling me the whole time, like, no. You're way off course on whatever your life is supposed to be. Like, who we are, meaning me and my inner being, if you will, and what we're doing, they're just diverging more and more every year, and I'm getting more and more uncomfortable or less and less comfortable in that. So it was like I got the thing that should have closed the gap, and it didn't. So it was like, holy crap. So that was like the moment I realized something's wrong, and this might not be for me. Right.
So did you feel anything up until that point? Like, were you just like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm in my 5th year, my 6th, 7th, 8th year.
No.
You always had that in your spirit that this is not really what I want to do.
Yes.
But I'm gonna do it because.
But I squashed it.
Right.
I kicked it down.
You suppressed
100%.
it. Right.
I can tell you, man. Like, look, there's not a day in my life right now that is when it's bad. I have bad days. We all do. That I think I should just stop doing what I'm doing. Right.
Same here.
And I think most people are like this. Like, this is, I think, is a tell. This is like an indicator. Like, is this job the right thing? If I had a bad day, I can think back to 25, 28 years old. I'd be like, I wish I could just quit.
Right.
I wish I could just quit this job. Then the next day you have a fine day and you kind of forget it and whatever, you move on, right?
Right.
But like, along the way there was tons of evidence that this wasn't for me and I shouldn't do it. I'll be honest with you, like, one of the dreams I had, I always wanted to be a stand-up. I was like, I'm gonna be a stand-up comic. I actually did it in my early 30s just to get it out of my system and like maybe see, like, maybe I do want, maybe this becomes a thing. It wasn't for me, but I did it and I got it, and I'll never wonder anymore, that I'm gonna do it. But I had that thought, like, man, my cousin lives in Hollywood. He's an actor out there. You know, he lives with like 3 guys because he makes no money.
Right.
Like, I'm 25. I'm making at that point 80, 90 grand a year.
Right.
But I'm like, screw it. I don't need it. I'm just gonna get rid of it all and move to Hollywood and go be an actor. I'd call him, and then 2 days later, I'm having a good day, or it's Ray's day or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, nah, this is the right thing to do. You know. So no, there's plenty of indications along the way, but I ignored them.
Yeah.
I've done that. I did that with a past relationship too. So just ignored. So it's just sort of a trend that I feel like post 40 I've reversed a bit.
What was the exact day that you said, okay, I'm done and I'm going to quit and I'm going to tell my wife? Did you talk to your wife before you did, or I'm sure you had already made the decision yourself?
Yeah.
And then you went
I told
to your
her
wife.
after. Yeah,
You told her
February 1st, 2021 was the day that I told myself it's done.
Done.
I'm not doing this anymore.
You're not going to.
Yeah. COVID. We were going to Florida. We went to Hollywood, Florida for 1 month. I talked to my boss, who we hated each other, so I'm glad she was kind to me in that time. She was kind of a bleeding heart, so if you just said, the COVID thing, my family, don't do what you got to do.
Right.
She was a pain in the ass otherwise. So I said, hey, we're going to go to Florida for a month if that's cool with you. She's like, yeah, that's fine. So my wife and kids flew down, and I drove. And on that drive, I was starting to get my head around the idea of quitting, right? Like I it's just me and my dogs and toys and luggage in the back or whatever of this minivan that we own. And it took me like 3 days. I stopped and saw some people. So on the drive down, I'm thinking about it. I even calculated like how much I could extract from my real estate portfolio. Like I wasn't taking anything from it. I didn't need to. I had my job, but I'm like, all right, well, if I actually take money out of that, that'll pay for like a lot of stuff. It's like $4,000 a month. It would have paid for the basics, like shelter, Wi-Fi, car, right? And then I'd have to figure out how to have like food and everything else. But in my mind, like, all right, well, I could do that. I got some money saved, and I was kind of there. And then the last day, I left St. Augustine, Florida. I met with a guy named Gino Barbaro, big multifamily guy, a friend of mine. And I left his place, and I'm driving, and I get a call from Bob Cronin. Sorry, Bob. Bob Cronin's fine. He's this guy I worked with in New England on like a Saturday. I think it was a call or text, but either way, the guy doesn't. We don't talk. Like he's a good guy, but just we're coworkers. That was it. I worked for him and then with him at one point. And he says, "Hey, I thought you'd want to know. Paul was 5 years older, 6 years older than me. A mentor of mine, a guy who, when I was going for the executive job, he was an executive. He really helped me every time I got turned down. Like he was the guy, right? Like we weren't best friends by any means, but he was just a guy I could always rely on. When I was going through my stuff with my boss in Michigan, I called him because he went through some stuff. Just a guy that I really admired and loved a lot. So he goes, Paul went into the hospital last night with some chest pains, and he never came out.
Wow.
Yeah, 49 years old, 2 boys. I'm getting chills right now thinking about it. 2 boys. I remember looking in the rearview mirror, and it was like this weird, like me, him image in the mirror. Like I saw me, but I didn't like see him, but like, you know what I mean? Like I had this like sense of him in that look, like, holy cow.
Right.
Like, that's it. It's done. I'm quitting. There's no way I can't now. Like the decision was made. And so I got to Hollywood, Florida. I called actually a coach I had at the time because I was going through before this, like I had started to invest in myself and join mastermind groups and coaching and like just new identity, big shift. I needed the support to do that. And I called a coach and talked through it, and he kind of validated it for me, which helped. Then I called my wife, and she's like, yeah. I'm like, aren't you worried? No. Okay, I guess I'm just going to do this, right? I wanted her to be more worried, I think, in some ways, but she was just like, nah, just the hell with it.
Yeah, so just to backtrack a little bit, did you met your wife at Progressive?
I did, yeah.
You met her at
I
Progressive?
claimed her. She was one of my employees.
Okay, she's one of your insurance claims.
She was one of my claim adjusters, yeah. So I went over and said, everyone, this is mine. Peed on her desk like a cat to claim the area. You know what I mean? Like, this is my scent. Leave it alone.
So she was a claim adjuster?
She was.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, she moved here after college for 1 year. She was teaching English at a school in La Romana. And then she had to start paying her college loan. So she moved back. A friend of hers was working at Progressive. She got the job. I moved to Boston to take over that office. And November 3rd, 2008, I met her. First time I ever saw her. And it was like, I mean, something. I'm not going to say like, I'm marrying that girl, but man, it was instant for me.
Yeah.
Not for her.
Yeah, and that's another thing we got in common. I met my wife also at work. You and I both, flirting with the hired help.
That's what we do. Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, that's what us men do.
That's what us men. Alpha.
Yeah.
Alpha.
And to be honest, it seems like I met my wife a year before that, but I know I met her in November in 2007.
No kidding.
I don't know if it was November the 7th, but I just know it was in
Only
November.
reason that was the day I moved to Boston.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, my first day working in Boston. I had moved that weekend, and I went to the office. I met all these. I had like a 40 or 50 person organization. I met all the teams, and then met her, and it's just like West Side Story, like the cloud around everybody else, just meeting her. For me, she was just like, what? I'm working. What is the boss? Okay, what do you mean, boss? Right, yeah, K-Lo-K. Exactly.
So when you had all this in your mind about quitting, was the idea for you guys to move here, or how did that come about?
No, the work I did before, joining the right communities, I always say this is just for somebody that wants the advice. If your identity is, if you're seeking a different identity, you need to get in the room with that identity now, not after you've done something, because it's way easier to be with people pulling you along than to try to push against all that you have in your life and then claim it. So I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be on my own. So I joined a community of entrepreneurs. And when I joined that community, something I learned a lot about was vision, the importance of vision.
Right.
And so I articulated my vision then as, look, this is all I want. I want to be able to travel 3+ months a year with my family anywhere in the world.
Right.
So that was the goal. That was the vision. That was the ultimate. And then I just worked at real estate, personal brand, everything to get myself out of the job to manifest this vision. But no, when I quit, we did travel, not 3 months. We went here and there. We did a lot of cool stuff for that first year. But no, it was sort of a pop-up decision in, it was January of 22, because we were down here for a month. When we were here, we just decided, let's just come here for a while.
Right.
And then we moved 7 months later.
Did you have any doubts when you actually pulled the trigger and walked away?
Crazy enough, no. I put my notice in, I know these dates, this is crazy. I put my notice in on March 12th of 2021, and I know that because March 13th of 2000 was my first day. So it was literally like 21-year career. I was 42 years old, called it, right? And I felt, it was a little bit weird telling my boss. I felt there's a little story there, I'm not gonna tell it, but a little story that I was like, just getting her on and letting her know. I felt, not because I was afraid of quitting, but it's just like people pleasing. I'm about to let her down even though we didn't like each other.
Right.
I struggled telling her, but once I told her, it was all good. And then I was good. I gave her enough notice because there was a big event coming up that my department needed a report on. I needed to share with the bigger of big wigs. So I said, I'll stick around through that. She's like, great. That was April 6th. So April 9th was the Friday. So I said, I'll stick around till April 9th and transition my organization. Big job, right? And I was still a stockholder. Even if I have a quit, I want to make sure everything goes right.
Right.
So all the way up until the moment, the day before I quit, I was good. I was just like, I can't believe how confident I am in doing this. And then the day before, I got a little bit of cold feet. And I went to my wife and I said, are you sure about this? She's
Are you sure?
She's like, yeah. And I need you to why are you so calm about this? And so that moment was for an hour, the night before I was resigning, an hour I was saying, not leaving, but March 12th, the day that I went in to give my resignation, the night before for an hour, I had this a little bit of panic. And I couldn't understand why my wife was so confident. She didn't talk about it. She didn't tell me why she was. I said, I need to understand why you're so good with this. And this is, I think, where the benefit of marrying somebody with a broader worldview and somebody who came from nothing.
Right.
Here, she grew up in Higüey.
Right.
I make jokes sometimes the bathroom was literally a hole in the backyard, right? For them, not at their house, but that's where you go to the bathroom.
Right.
The whole bathroom, that's the bathroom.
Right.
So she goes, look, you're talented enough to earn an income, as am I. The worst thing that happens here is we have to downgrade our lifestyle. We go from 4-bedroom home in a beautiful cul-de-sac to 2-bedroom apartment. We go from dinners out at the nicest restaurants to let's just eat in tonight, right? The worst thing that happens is we have to downgrade.
Right.
She's like, but I'd rather you be happy, and I'd rather you have a path towards something you want. I can see how miserable you are with the job and how happy you are with all that you've built on the side. So for her, it was just what's the worst that happens?
Right.
And man, a lot of wives aren't like that.
Yeah.
A lot of wives are I need to maintain this standard of living or higher, or you can't quit. And so yeah, I think that moment I was unsure. When she said that, man, I clicked right back into sure. And again, like right before I told my boss, I felt a little weird. But from that point to the last day, dude, and from that point forward, it's just been, I haven't looked back. I never regretted it. I never like wonder. I never sit here and think about it. Yeah. Every so often, if I ever think like, this would be so much easier if I had that job. I start to, you know what I mean? I start to like vomit in my mouth, like, no, never mind. No, never mind. I'm good. I'll work through this, you know?
Yeah, my wife was the same way. She could tell how miserable I was getting up to go to work every day. And again, she was supportive too, you know, when I decided, hey, this is it. So. Yeah.
I told all my buddies, don't marry American women.
Uh-oh.
Well, I'll get into it. I was engaged to a girl in my 20s.
Yeah.
And she was just, I don't know, like, there was no scar tissue in her life, right? So everything was such a big deal and everything. And I look at all my buddies and it's the same thing. And the guys that married women that came from like Poland or Dominican or whatever, like just a broader worldview,
right.
Like, I don't know, it was just a weird aside. You're probably like, I didn't expect you to go there, but I feel like, you know, and maybe it's changing, but culturally,
it's getting worse.
Through the years that I was like courting or like getting, you know, like I'm going to get married at some point, like there was such a privilege, like women just acted so privileged, and it was like, I don't know, but if you found somebody that knew like what it was really like to grow up in a place like this, or you know, in the Eastern Bloc of a nation that was formerly communist or whatever. It's not about like white women, black women, Latino women. It's just like women with a bigger worldview. Could be American women that went and did something. That's cool, but like true. Sometimes it's like locked in on daddy says this is the way it's supposed to be, and you got to meet my dad and he needs to approve. It's like, get out of here. What's the matter with you? So yeah.
So was it a big adjustment going from your $400,000 lifestyle down to your lifestyle here?
No, it hasn't. When you say lifestyle here, what do you mean?
Well, people will assume, because I know, but people will assume that a 500, because when you think about a $500,000 lifestyle in the United States, and then you think about moving to Dominican Republic, and you think, people may be thinking, well, he downgraded, but actually a $500,000 lifestyle in the States is equivalent to maybe what, 100K here?
Oh, probably, yeah. Oh, 100%, and it's better. And it's better. Like, you know, the not just the weather. I mean, it depends on where you are, of course, but not just the weather, but the people, the culture, the amenities available to you, the freedom. Right? Like, no one's offended. You notice that? Like, no one's freaking offended here. And I love it. Like, I've seen people viscerally go after each other debating a political issue here. Like, and I don't even understand it. Like, I was like my wife's cousins or whatever. Like, they're just going at it, man. They're done. They have a drink. They hang out. Like, no one gets offended.
Right. Now that you said that, was it anything about the American culture that you didn't like that kind of influenced that decision to move here?
Not at the time. Not at the time. It was a combination of two things. Michigan is very gray in the winter, and we were here for a month in January of 2022, like just to get away from it. So like, wow, crayon blue skies, bright sun, green grass. Right? I mean, you know. So it was more like the weather, and then it was more of a go toward thing. So it wasn't like, actually that's a good lesson I could teach here in a second that I've learned in my life through quitting the job and moving here. But when the moment that we both decided was watching our kids play with their cousins and not speak the same language, but they still played and were like running around in Higüey at my wife's uncle's ranch. And we were like, wow, it'd be pretty cool to get them this experience for a while. And we thought a year, right? Like that's what we thought would be good. So no, it wasn't like we got to get out of here because of the political division. We couldn't see it. Like we were blind to it. We were numb to it, right? Like all of it. The school shootings, all the stuff I talk about now, that all came after. The plan was come here for a year, be a great experience, travel 3+ months with my family anywhere in the world, right? Did it, manifested that vision, and my kids will learn Spanish and they'll have this experience. We'll always have this 1-year experience living abroad. How cool. Maybe we'll do it somewhere else, Portugal or wherever at some point. But we stayed when it became obvious after being here some of the things in the United States that don't align with our values. Not gonna say bad. U.S. is the greatest country on the planet from a standpoint of opportunity, and it just is. You can't dispute it. Biggest economy in the world. But the school shooting thing, like I was like, holy crap, you don't hear about that here. Mass shootings. When we were walking through the village, I don't know about you, I'm not peeping roofs to see if anybody's up there, like looking down with an AR. Like it just doesn't happen. the political division, like here, there versus here, like when people are just hanging out, chatting, the connectedness, like everything there felt like play date, scheduled, like everything had to happen within like the confines of a very strict schedule.
Right.
And my wife noticed for her, like the competitiveness amongst moms for how involved their kids are in things.
Right.
There.
Right.
And here, like, I mean, I listen to my wife talk to these women, her friends here, and they're just like, give yourself some grace. Who cares if he goes to soccer and swim? Like, it's just there's a different vibe here, man. So no, we didn't, when we left, and I think this is important, I want to accentuate this, because some people might be like thinking about like the job, and this resonates with me, leaving a job, and I think you had this too. Tell me if I'm wrong. If I quit when I wanted to quit, it would have been a month after I went to Michigan, right? I would have been running away. It would have felt great. I would have busted the doors open. It would have felt amazing. But when I quit at the point that I did, I had a lot of gratitude for the career I had, and I had something to run toward. And it was the same thing coming here. We weren't running away from the United States, right? And whatever, now that we see some of the stuff we don't like, we were running toward an experience in the Dominican Republic. And I just think that when decisions are made, when you are going to run away from something, I think it's less likely for you to sustain it and be successful with it when you're running toward it.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I think I could probably say the same thing, even though, I don't know, was I running away or running toward? I think because maybe running toward because I've already had the experience here.
Yeah, you loved it here.
And I loved it here, and I knew what was here, and I knew the lifestyle that I could lead, so I guess I was running towards.
100%. And the job too for you, when you quit, were you running toward or running away? First time?
The first time?
Yeah.
I was running away then.
And what happened?
I had to go back. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You're right. You put that in perspective.
But when you left the second time,
I was running toward.
Toward what? Consulting career, like all the things that you do.
Right.
But yeah, like you ran toward, and when you ran toward, you've had success.
Right.
You've sustained it. Doesn't mean you'll always, doesn't mean God forbid, one day maybe I need to get a job. If I have to protect my family, you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
But I think when you find the thing to run toward and get excited about that, you get the pull into, the orbit of what your next version of your life will be. But if you're running away, it feels great for a minute, and you might be able to turn it. You might be able to stick with it, but I just think your success rate drops dramatically.
I agree.
I think at the end of the day, man, honestly, if you're living in gratitude, that's going to be the thing that gives you the mindset to go toward things.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
I was very grateful for my career.
Right.
But in the time from 2017 to 2021, when I got the job and then quit, there was plenty of time in there where I wanted to just leave and say, F this place.
Yeah.
Like, this is what they do to me. I have no support. My boss is like a tyrant, and it was bad. My boss is a tyrant, and the guy that she reports to, who's always been an advocate of mine, he disappears on me. Like, I was bitter. Right. So I was definitely in that space. Converting it to gratitude, like, man, you know what, I'm glad I went through this. I'm glad I had a bad boss, because it actually propelled me to leave the job sooner. It made me work harder to find a way out. And without her, I might still be sticking around. I would have been too comfortable.
Right. So what do you think about?
I got to get one good one on this. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm listening.
So one thing you said is that all the stuff that you noticed about the States happened afterwards. After you got here, what are your thoughts on the current climate and just the direction of the country that's going right now? Because I think you and I are the same age. Growing up back in the 80s and maybe even the early 90s, things just were different.
Yeah.
There was a sense of community. There was still some type of sense, some type of pride amongst Americans. Now it just seems like everybody is just on the edge, and it's like either you're on this side or you're on that side, and you can't agree on anything, and everything is just an issue.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think about the way it's going?
I think the most unfortunate thing, and I don't know, people can blame, and they will, because this is what they do in the United States. This guy started it. This guy said it was Obama who started it. It was Trump or whatever. The divisiveness there, man. The all one side, all the other. This drives me nuts. Like right now, if I said to you, man, I'm pro-choice. Especially after having kids, like I can't imagine. I mean, unless it's medically necessary, I can't imagine getting rid of a baby. They're all babies. It's like, this is not a clump of cells. It's a baby, right? Instantly, anybody watching this right now, if I said I'm pro-choice, check off every right-wing item, and that's what I am.
Right.
Like I'm there, right down the list. So that means I'm a Trumper, MAGA, racist. What else? What else is right wing? I don't know. Like whatever right wing is associated with.
And vice versa, though.
And then flip it. If I said I'm pro-choice, right? I'm a beta male. Liberal, whites for Kamala, like that, right? Like that's me. If I say I'm pro-choice, like man, how do I tell a woman what she should do?
Right.
And we were talking about this at lunch, man. Like I think people in the United States are living fully in or. Mm-hmm. Everything is or.
Right.
I like to look at life as and I think once the U.S. gets back there, it will be. So I said this to you, like on the topic of abortion, I'm kind of both. I get it. I understand the argument of pro-choice. Look, if I'm pregnant, or my wife is pregnant, and we want it, it's a baby. Mm-hmm. No matter how young or small, or like the first moment I know, it's a baby. Mm-hmm. We're calling it that. If we get pregnant, my wife gets pregnant, we don't want it, it's a fetus, right? It's the same thing, but it's a baby if I want it, it's a fetus if I don't want it, right? So like I get pro-life. I get the idea like life starts at conception. I completely get it. I also understand if I'm a woman, what the hell right do I have to say to a woman whether or not she should carry that baby to full term? So I get the pro-choice argument. I get them both. There's probably a happy medium. Actually, you know who I like that I heard say this was Marco Rubio. And this isn't an endorsement of him or anything, although I do like him. I've always kind of liked the way he shows up. But he said this once. He got blitzed by the Republican Party about voting yes on a bill that limited abortion to like 3 months or something like this. He got blitzed by the right because it's not, like you're still allowing abortion. And he's like, look, it's a nuanced issue. There are two passionate sides to this. I'm going to vote yes to anything that gets closer to pro-life, right? Like understanding that there's got to be some wiggle room for the other side to win a little here, right? Like, so I loved that statement. That made me really respect his mindset. You could say about his policy, I don't know, I'm not a Florida guy. But like, I really believe the States is just so like divided. And then when you look at the stuff, like you know what I love about here? Does Amazon deliver to your home in Santo Domingo?
No.
You have to go to BM Cargo or EPS or whatever. Yeah. I like that. Some people mess like, oh man, once they get Amazon, I like the fact that in this culture we're forced to go out and see each other.
Right.
Instacart brings your groceries. Uber Eats brings your meal, and Amazon brings your stuff.
Right.
You never go anywhere.
Right.
So people don't see each other, and when you don't see each other, you become a nameless, faceless ideology.
Right.
And you could sit in your home watching Fox or CNN or whatever, and just barb at the other side.
Right.
So that's the States. And so what I've noticed, and you may have too, on our channels, is I never have a person living here take any issue with anything I ever say. Even if I come across as full MAGA or full lefty or whatever, right? Never. The people in the U.S., them commenting, those are the ones that always take exception if I don't. Like I've done videos saying, hey, here's my take on it. And because I don't say Trump is evil, racist, and a fascist, I'm a Trumper. Right. Because I didn't say the worst thing about him, I'm a Trumper.
Right.
People in the States are out of their mind right now with the division and how they see the world. And to your point, when you exit and look back into the looking glass, like those mother effers are crazy.
They are
crazy. Right. When you step back in it, you're like, oh my wife said it when we landed in Atlanta we went for a month. She's like, whoa, welcome back. Jeez, like this person's yelling at that person, the TV's blaring, politics,
Right.
Whew.
I remember I said on my channel when the last mass shooting, well, not the last one because it's been minutes since then.
It happen all the time.
But the one that was in Georgia, and you just mentioned, hey, we need some common sense gun laws. Oh, you are this.
You're a lefty, liberal, whatever.
Like, I mean, we can't even agree that we need to protect the kids.
It's stupid, man. It's stupid. We could be on either side of that argument. It could be like, gun laws, sure, but it's more about mental health. Or I could say gun laws, you could say about mental health, and we can have that discussion. And then we'll smoke a cigar, we'll have a beer, water right now for me. We'll have a drink. We'll talk through it. Like that's the culture you're immersed in here, I believe, and probably in a lot of parts of the world. But there, man, like it's your one or the other, no matter what, and it could be anything, dude. Like carnivore. Yeah. Carnivore diet, you know what I am? I'm a right-wing psycho. By eating meat.
It don't matter what it is, right?
It's like no matter the topic, I'm going to be bucketed on the right wing. Because no lefty. Vegan, you're lefty, friggin', softy, whatever. Like, it's insane. It's insane. So that's what I hope I'm answering your question. That's what I see in the U.S., and that's like, and I don't mean like any American watching this right now. I don't care how Dominican you are or how not American you are. If you've lived in the States and haven't lived abroad since the age of, like my wife, since the age of 12, if you just lifetime in the States, but you're Dominican, you cannot understand it.
Right.
I don't care. I hate the I'm Dominican. This is the way it is. I'm like, you're Dominican in New York. That doesn't tell me anything, man. Like, you're in New York. That would be like me saying, you're in New York, I live here, let me tell you how it is in New York, because I'm from New York.
Right.
I'm a New Yorker, I can tell you. Like, you would call me an idiot, right? I'm not calling anybody an idiot, but you get my point. Like, that whole thing of like, if you're commenting, taking my words or his words and bucking us into the right or left, you are fully American.
Right.
That is an American specific, exclusive trait.
Right.
Doesn't exist here.
Yep. 100% agree.
I got passionate about that. All right, on that point, I got to get one cool-looking J puff. How do I do this? I just light this whole thing, right?
Yep. Pull it. You're getting better. After what? 45 minutes?
What, do I say America now? Or something?
American.
America.
America.
I had that rant, which people are going to take as right wing or left wing or whatever the hell it is. Anyway.
So let's jump into your content creation. So when you quit your job or you decided to leave, did you already have your YouTube channel going, or what was the idea, or how did that start?
I was doing stuff on real estate while I was at my job because I was learning how to do. Like, that's my whole thing. My content has always been like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Let me show you, and like kind of learn with me. So I was buying real estate. So I was learning about buying real estate, and I would share what I knew about real estate, and I had a small following. I got on the Bigger Pockets podcast. That was a huge podcast.
What episode?
436.
Okay.
Episode 436. Actually, it was a month before I quit. I was on that podcast. I'm friends with both guys, Brandon and David, that were the hosts at the time. So they had me on the podcast, and so I kind of became known in the space for real estate networking. Specifically, because I hosted meetup groups and I did a really good job of like finding deals, not through brokers, but through networking.
Did your job know that you were doing this?
No.
Okay.
And I had a calculus on that. There were two things. Because a lot of people might wonder that, like, man, I want to start something, but what if my job finds out?
Right.
So here's two things I did. One, all of the content I created and everything I did was in a private Facebook group. So I created a private Facebook group, it was called Multifamily and More. And inside that private Facebook group, which I had to approve everybody coming in, dude, I was going live, I was creating content, it was all in there, but no one could see it unless I wanted them to. So that was one. And then two, there was a bit of a calculus of saying like, well, if my boss or her boss or anybody is listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast about real estate investing to quit your job and stuff, and they hear me on there, then they're complicit.
Right.
Right?
Right. Because you're not just doing that.
Right.
Yeah. You're into it too.
You're into it too.
Right.
And I did. Progressive's a big company, 50, 60,000 people.
Right.
I got these like Teams messages, you know, like I could see them in their office, like, hey man, I heard you on Bigger Pockets, like, so cool, like I'm a progressive guy too. Shh, let's not tell anybody, we all want the same thing. So I had some of those folks, so it kind of proved out, right? Like, yeah, so that was my calculus. But yeah, I was very visible about it, I guess, even with the job.
So tell me a little bit about your journey into from the real estate content over to the Dominican content.
Real estate was good. It grew into something that became a little bit constricted for me. There's only so much in real estate you could talk about. I expanded it out to a podcast called Tribe of Millionaires.
Okay.
Tribe of Millionaires was my way of like, you know, learning more from entrepreneurs by interviewing them and like having more like conversations like we're having today, which I can do forever. And a lot of my content pivoted to some podcasts, but also like quitting your job. A lot of people were interested in that. And again, grew a little bit. I still host Tribe of Millionaires. In fact, I'm going to be changing. I'm actually leaving the show soon and starting a different one, and that's for another day. But Tribe of Millionaires has been amazing. I've grown a ton. My core business goes off of Tribe of Millionaires, which is a membership community. So people listen and they join the membership community and pay varying degrees of membership per year. And the quit your job thing got me a little bit of play. I got on some stages, I did some stuff or whatever, but same thing. Like I quit, this is what I'm learning as a new entrepreneur, this, that, and the other. But if you're talking about specifically here,
did it just organically shift?
So my whole thing is always share what's going on. So it's pretty easy to go from real estate investing to, wow, he quit his job.
So you could have been anywhere. You were just going to share your life.
And then when I moved here, I was here. So sharing life in Dominican Republic.
Gotcha.
And to be honest with you, if I had intention, it was probably more like quitting job, moving abroad. Like that's the audience. But I mean, I'm talking about here. So a large number of Dominican Americans started following me, and I was like, "This is fun. I kind of enjoy this. Great feedback." Actually, it wasn't even great feedback. At the beginning, I think people were very skeptical, like, "Who's this white boy colonizer in my country?" And then after a while, I was like, "All right, he's kind of, and people
Kinda
warmed
cool
up."
white boy.
Yeah. And then they actually started defending me against those people in the comments that would say, "This colonizer."
Right.
But yeah, once I started getting some traction with brand, like growth with brand here, talking about here, like I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to lean into this." It's. I think that's the entrepreneurial trait, right? Like, I got an idea, I'm going to go out there and test it, and then what I don't realize is that the exact idea isn't the thing, but like this little thing that came off of that idea is.
Right.
And I'm not. It's just like, why would I take resistance? I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to roll with it and take it where it's going to go. So I've had a lot of fun talking about living here, talking about being an expat. I still bend in some of this stuff, like quitting your job and all that stuff, but yeah. So it was just, honestly, my whole content career is just documenting my life. It's not coming up with ideas. It's just like, let me share this, let me share that.
So was there a time that you, and you probably didn't, was there a time that you thought that it wasn't going to work? Or did you just kind of catch traction? Like, because some content creators, they're spinning their wheels, but it seems like your content kind of caught on. Maybe it happened like that from the outside, but from your perspective, did it catch on like that, or how long did it take you to start?
It popped in October of 21. October of 22, 23. What year are we in? 25. October 23, it really popped.
And you were doing it for how long? Not the
like
outside
Dominican specific content was probably a few months.
A few months, okay.
Just talking about living abroad and stuff like that, and there was some following. But there was one video I did on cost of living that really riled people up, and that thing went. My videos would get like what I remember getting like. On a reel on Instagram, if I got like 1,000 views, I was like, yes.
Yeah, on a reel, yeah.
This one went to like 400,000. And like, I remember that weekend I was in Chicago. I had 8,000 followers on Instagram, like whatever that is, 6 years to get to 8,000 followers. By the end of the weekend, I was at like 37,000.
By the end of the weekend?
Like 3 days later. Like all of a sudden.
So you went from 8,000 to 37?
Just like that.
Just like that.
That video, and it's funny, I believe this. Like some people put videos out and they're like, oh, nobody's watching. Like, yeah, but because I had made 15, 20 videos that nobody watched, when they watched number 21, now they had a library to go back to.
Exactly.
Right? Like if the first one hits, then like maybe they're not going to come back and see the next one. Why am I holding this like this? I put this down. So that video hit, it went to like 37,000 in like a weekend. I remember it was so much fun. Like you go through those growth spurts, right? Like you're like, wow, another 6,000, 8,000. Kept going. So I have a coach, a brand coach that I work with, and I was saying that to him, and he's like, just lean into it. Like just, But the one thing he taught me that I think changed things was I went from you should content, like if you want to move to the Dominican, to how I. When I moved to the Dominican Republic, this is what I did.
Right.
More endearing. Like nobody wants to be told what to do, but they're open to hearing what you did, right? And for me, it was like, you can dispute me, but I'm not telling you, if I tell you should do something and you tell me I'm wrong, then we're in conflict.
Right.
If I tell you how I did something and you tell me I'm wrong, I'm like, okay, well, that's what I did. So move along, right?
Right.
So it was just an easier, and that was a little tactical thing that I learned that I think pivoted and gave me some reach. But yeah, man, that popped, and then YouTube came a little bit later. I really got intentional with YouTube April of last year, April of 2024.
Okay. And where are you at on YouTube now?
Just about 30,000.
30,000. And Instagram?
100,000. Just under 100,000.
Just under 100,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's 98.3 right as we record this. So I'm within 14 days of right now, it should be at 100,000 based on my number of followers per day.
You doing anything special?
No. Today I boosted my first one. I don't do a lot of sponsorships. People think like all my stuff on restaurants and stuff, like I have one sponsorship, and it's Cochoni's Naco, the mattress store, because they've done some really cool stuff for a charity I support. So I took them on as a sponsor. I've gone to like Bavaro Adventure Park to give me passes for the day, but the agreement with all of them is if it sucks, I'm paying you. Because I'm not going to just take the passes, it sucks, and then tell people it's awesome. Like if it sucks, I'm paying you, right? Like I'm going to pay for the day. Like thank you. I can't put this out of my. It wasn't good.
Gotcha.
Skate park did that, a couple places, but generally speaking, I don't get paid to go to restaurants. I battle with it. I wonder where you are on this. I battle with it a little bit because it's like, part of me is, especially here, Dominican business owners often don't want to pay, right? Like it's a weird scarcity thing. And so I get a little bit like, dude, I just did a reel that got 140,000 views and 10, 12,000 shares. And you've told me about the impact to your business. And then the next time I walk in, you charge me full price, right? Like you don't say, hey man, there's some businesses that have it. I don't do it with that expectation,
right?
But it's just like, it's you notice it, right? It's like, oh my God, thank you. Our business took off. We've gotten so much business. We booked this many things, this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. And I'm glad I did that, right? And then it's like, oh, we're gonna go there 3 weeks from now. We're gonna go in. It's like, yeah, we're here. Yeah, great. $45, please.
Yeah, they don't practice gratitude here.
It's a challenge, man.
Right.
Business owners, they don't practice gratitude. So I struggle with, like, I went out to Cabana, this restaurant locally, and I told my wife, like, this is really good. Like, I want to do a reel, but F them.
Right.
Like all these business owners. But I'll be honest with you, man, like, I don't know, and this is where I want to get your take. Like, I feel like when I get into that mindset of like, screw them, I got to get mine, I don't feel good. I got kind of a negative mindset going on. And like, maybe this might be like woo-woo energetic stuff, but that energy put out into the world comes back with bad energy.
Right.
So in my mind, it's like, let's say I do a reel on a place and they blow up, man. They make hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on the initial push of marketing that I gave without them asking for it. Good for them.
Right.
I'm happy. I'm happy for them, and I'll get mine somewhere else, right? Like, I try to stay in that mindset, but it's hard sometimes because they do, man. Like, sometimes business owners here, they.
What I found through my content creation journey is that people think creating content is easy, so they feel that, oh, it's just a reel. Oh, you just sitting here, you're talking about the thing. They don't understand that you have to edit. You have to film, and with you have a crew with you. Well, I guess on your reels you do it yourself.
I pay for the editing on the reels.
But you pay for the editing, and then when you do your grow up with groupers or even some of your stuff, you have a crew with you.
Spend $1,000 every time I do a grow up.
Right. It's not as, hey, I'm just sitting at the camera. I spend a 5 minute, or I'll just talk from a video. I do a video. I mean, it's probably like 40 minutes worth of footage.
For 12 minutes.
For 12 minutes that I got to sit there and I got to edit all this stuff out. So I think they take it for granted and thinking that it's easy and that it doesn't require a whole lot of your time.
The business.
And they don't see the value in it.
Yeah. I had a company locally, I think I told you about this, get me on a call. First off, they were absolute a-holes on the call because I was late because of a scheduling issue. Like, they put an Eastern time. Anyway, I have an assistant that works on Eastern time. We're on Atlantic time, right? We're an hour ahead. And it just was a confusion between the assistant and them, or whatever. I apologized through a WhatsApp, like, oh, I'm jumping on, 10 minutes late. And the marketing person says, are you in the Dominican Republic or are you in the States? I said, no, I'm in the Dominican Republic. Oh, well, we sent you an invite. We're here in the Dominican Republic as well. So I'm like, yeah, but my assistant's on Eastern time. So that was the confusion. He's like, oh, your assistant's Jamie? I'm like, I'm like, no, I'm Jamie. My assistant's, well, we sent it to Jamie, the Jamie account. Like, yeah, which my assistant has. And I was this close to like, are we done here?
Right.
Like, are we here to challenge me on whether or not I have integrity to show up for your precious freaking 10 minutes? But she pivoted and she started telling me about what they wanted to do. And I'm like, well, great. If you want to work with me, I don't want to do a one-off reel. I want a long-term relationship and this is what I want to do. I'm like, but I want to be clear first. Like, for me to do like YouTube promotion or whatever, like I've gotten on YouTube, I've gotten offered, and right now I'm in the process of producing it, $2,500 for one YouTube video to be dedicated to, this specific brand. US, am I anywhere near your budget? Like, oh no. The most we will pay our influencers is 10,000 pesos. I'm like, well then we can end the call right now.
Right.
You're charging American prices for your product, which they are. I'm not gonna say who they are, but they haven't they charge. You want exposure to an American audience, and pay me in Dominican. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not degrading the DR. That's not saying any influencer here that will get 10,000. Good for them. But like, you have to understand the dynamics of who you're asking for, what you're asking for. Right. Not like I'm important, but like, you see the audience, who they are. They have more means than somebody living in a Spanish-speaking living in Higüey, right? So you can't pay me for access to this audience the same that you pay this person for access to this audience.
Right. That makes sense, yeah.
But that person and that whole vibe and that whole energy, the whole thing, like, I was on her time, so I'm like, you called me. Like, what are we doing here? You asked me to be here. Like, Unbelievable. So yeah, it's a frustration if you move down here. Dominican business owners can be really, really frustrating.
So what advice would you give someone who's looking to pivot from their traditional career over to content creation?
First advice is you have to start. You know, like you got to start. Choose your medium. I think video is the best. You can do written, like LinkedIn's good for written. You can do audio, like a podcast, but video's the best. Video's the best. I would say what I've learned is if you want to grow and scale a brand that can monetize, there's like 3 levels to go through. So first, figure out what it is you stand for or you stand against that creates emotion. So like it's really cool to be like, yeah, hey, I create content to help people get out of their own way. It's like, that's nice, but that doesn't create emotion, right? Like emotion is like, I'm so sick of corporate America taking advantage of their employees. Like, I'm watching, right? Like, you got me. So something you stand for or against that creates emotion. The second thing is, what is your unique advantage in that? So let's look at me and you, right? Like, I stand for, like, guys, you gotta check out Dominican Republic, amazing place. And what I'm against is, like, why are people calling this the third world? Right? And that creates emotion with people, right? The unique advantage I have is I'm here. I physically live here. So if I did everything in a studio and you couldn't see me out and about, then it's like, I could do that from Kentucky. But my unique advantage is I'm physically here. If it's the corporate thing I talked about, your unique advantage may be that you were taken advantage of in corporate and you were able to find your way out and leave and expose those frauds, right? Like, that's your unique advantage. And then third, from those 2 things determine who your audience is going to be. So I think if you're going to start content creation, you have to just start. I put out videos, we've talked about them, where I'm like, this one might be a little offensive, but it's like, whatever, man. I got to put it out and see. I just want to put this out into the world. I think you have to do and put it out. I think you have to go ready, fire, aim, not ready, aim, fire. And I think if you want, like, tactically how to think about it before you launch your brand, what do you stand for or against that creates emotion? What's your unique advantage of that? And then who are you serving?
Because I see a lot of, some people who come here, the first thing they're looking to do is get into content creation because I'm in the Dominican Republic, I want to start a YouTube channel. Do you think it'll get at some point oversaturated with people talking about Dominican Republic?
No, I don't think so. I think that there's, like, I can think of, like, different creators right now that I know of, and some people may know them, some people may not. Oversaturated to me, if it was, here's what that would mean to me. You, me, Jonah, and I can think of a dozen more people that are creating on YouTube and or Instagram would be pretty even in reach, pretty even in subscriber growth and all of that stuff. Because it's like, well, what's the difference? Like, it's all saturated. We'd all be pretty. But, like, I'm growing a lot. I know you're growing a lot. Jonah's growing a lot. Some people aren't growing. They put out consistent content. They put it out. But I think it matters your personality. I think it matters how authentic you are. I think it matters how you come across. I think it matters, honestly, more than anything is, like, am I getting any value from this? Like, there's a lot of people that put out stuff that is more self-serving than valuable for the person watching. So no, I don't think so. Let's look at it this way. Even within DR content, right? You and I don't have the same audience and brand. We have some crossover. But you speak to Santo Domingo more, not just. You do other parts of the country, beach towns. You come here sometime and all that stuff. But you're more focused on Santo Domingo. You're a Black American man. So you're going to have more of you're going to relate more to Black American men or women that are watching content about moving down here, maybe married to a Dominican or Puerto Rican or whatever. You're speaking about, I think, like, the mindset of living here, and from a lifestyle perspective, you celebrate the ability to live a good life for less, right? If you look at my brand, like, I'm Puntacana. I'm white American, so maybe more white Americans resonate with me just because I look like them, just like anything, right? And I talk more about probably, like, I don't want to say like unlimited budget, but like I probably have more of a luxury sort of vibe to me, if that makes sense. Or like, like I rail against, like if somebody says, and you might have said this, like man, if you're spending this much on groceries in a month, like it's crazy. And to me, it's like, I could spend that all day. You know what I mean? Like, you know why? Because the easiest place to go to happens to be the most expensive. Now, I could save and drive 45 minutes to go save, or 20 minutes or whatever, and I will, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like, money's not an issue, not at all. Like the 500K thing, like I've actually been fortunate 1 year post W2 to hit that. Never hit it again. Right? So I'm, up and down, right? So, but still, I've been fortunate to live a comfortable life. But the idea is like, I'm serving a very different niche. Like, I don't know about you, man, but like when we're walking around together, sometimes people know us together, but they sometimes know you, or they sometimes know me, and they're introducing me to you or me, right? So if it was all the same, everyone would know everybody.
Right.
There's people watching this that never heard of me before.
Right.
And there's people watching on my thing that have never heard of you before.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot that know both, but there's certainly not that. Yeah, no, I don't think it can get oversaturated.
Gotcha.
I think we're all serving different audiences. There's a lady here who's a black retired, senior citizen, black female senior citizen from the States. Like that's a whole market.
That's true.
Right? Like that's not your market. You're a black man, but you're not a black woman that's retired, right? Like maybe there's some crossover there because of the ethnicity, but her audience probably doesn't know anything about me, and vice versa.
Right.
You know?
All right, so we finna get into some, probably finna get into a disagreement.
Look at that thing. I'm like, you're smoked down to the nut, man. Yeah. Smoking past the band. Yeah. Look at you.
Puntacana or Santo Domingo, which was best?
I think that, for who? Best for who? Just best?
Well, best. Not for any particular audience, but just in general. What's the better city? I heard you on one of your videos yesterday. Well, I don't know if you did yesterday. You were talking about Puntacana a little bit, about the different things here. You said what it can be to become a city, a complete city. Right. And
that's where my mind just went. It's funny you say that. Somebody asked a question. I do like these ask me anythings. I'm going Puntacana.
Liar.
The reason I'm going Puntacana is this. From a standpoint of, this is my criteria for whatever it's worth. Like if I'm looking at the two. Well, let's do it this way. If I'm looking at the two, Santo Domingo traffic is absolutely out of its mind. It's just stupid insane. It's not hard to drive. People I think make it like hard to drive. I don't think it's hard to drive there.
No.
It's not. The bikes are a little annoying, but it's just like frustrating as hell to drive there. Like it can take you an hour to go 4 blocks. Like it's crazy. So that's one. Two, Santo Domingo, you need to make a little more effort to get to the number one draw of what the Dominican Republic is, and that's the beaches. It's more effort to go to the beach there than there is to go to the beach here. And three, overall, crime and development is greater in all of as a percentage of Punta Cana. Crime is lower and development is greater. Stable electric, all of that, than the whole of Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo has tons of development, don't get me wrong. That said, Punta Cana is better. Let's just full stop and sentence there. And, I like and, not or, right? Santo Domingo has the medical infrastructure that Punta Cana doesn't have. So like our allergists in Santo Domingo, if I needed a heart specialist, I'm going to Santo Domingo. I want an executive scan, I'm going to Santo Domingo, right? Like it's got it all there. Price Smart in Santo Domingo is a deal breaker, game changer. And coming here, it'll absolutely elevate the area. And I mean, Santo Domingo is a major city. Like it's a cosmopolitan city. It's not just it's not Port-au-Prince, right? It's not some like major hub of population, but like degraded. Like most of driving through Santo Domingo, you go Gascue to Bella Vista to Piantini, Naco to what is it?
Las Casas.
That, or all the way up to Arroyo Hondo, right? And everything in between. It's amazing, and you get all these flavors. Arroyo Hondo feels like LA to me.
Yeah,
a little bit.
The Beverly Hills area.
Beverly Hills, right? It kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
Piantini's got kind of a Manhattan vibe to it. Naco as well. I mean, it's got everything, man. It's a great city, but like for living, nah.
Don't listen to him.
Nah.
Dude, Santo Domingo is the best city
listen to me.
on this island.
I stayed in Piantini. Would you agree that Piantini is one of the hottest, best places to live in Santo Domingo?
Yes.
Okay. I stayed in Piantini in a beautiful building. Cheap, by the way. It's like $100 a night for like a 3-bedroom condo in a gated building or a guarded building with garage underneath. Beautiful, right? Right in Piantini. Right up from like Toro and
Don Pepe.
exactly. And Pepperoni's not too far from there either.
Pepperoni's not too far.
Yeah, yeah. So right in that area, right? On like a Thursday night, dude, we're like 12, 15 floors up, 2 in the morning. Some dude got a microphone down in the square and was just belting. Beautiful, great voice. But 2 in the morning on a Thursday? You out of your mind? This dude was going to town singing whatever the hell he was singing, like a Juan Luis Guerra cover.
Right.
Insane. There's people shouting. I'm like, what is happening? The next time I went, it was the same thing. Like there was something happening outside, the noise, and this, that, and the other. It's beautiful. I'd lived there, but Puntacana wins.
I would say about Santo Domingo, most of the time, I think that you have to actually live there. If you visit there, you're going to have that same opinion.
Well, I could say the same thing about here then.
Huh?
You have to live here.
I've lived here.
You lived here for like a month.
Well, that's long enough.
And you were in Cortecito. You were in Corrales.
But I could see everything here in a month. Can I not see everything in
No.
Puntacana in a month?
No, that's a misnomer. That's the thing. Hold on.
You could see everything in Puntacana within a month, and you'll be repeating it
I didn't
in
get
your
to it.
second month.
No, I disagree with that. So here's my thoughts on Punta Cana. Punta Cana gets all the credit in the world as it should for being a tourist destination, and has all the touristy things.
Right. I
Tons.
agree.
Well, okay. Actually, let me backtrack. Santo Domingo, of course, has more to see. It's way bigger and all of that. When you say see everything in a month, you're talking about like Ojos Indígenas and skate park and Dorado and Caribbean Lake Park, all those things. That's what you mean? Like,
Just the city in general. You can ride around and in a month you're done.
fair. How many times a week in your building how many times a day are neighbor kids in your apartment or your kids in other apartments playing with their kids?
Well, my daughter, maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
4 or 5 times a week in your building? Then that's a little unique for Santo Domingo from everything else I understand it to be. Like, to your point, yes, this is small, you can see everything. Santo Domingo is way bigger. I think the thing that people give credit to Punta Cana for is the fact that it's a tourist destination for sure. What they'll fight me on, and they're wrong, and again, unless you've lived here for 6 months, you can't know this, and anybody that has, if you live here in Punta Cana, validate it down below for me. The family environment here is next level. It's equal to the tourist environment. So like, as built up as it is here for tourism, it's equally built for families.
Yeah.
It is. But you got to be in the right spots, in like the Village, Cocotal, Sierra Las Canas. There's the different places you got to be.
Right.
But man, like the family dynamics here are next level. So like people are like, oh, what do I do with my kid after dark? I'm like, I don't know. Our kids are, dude, last night my kids got home at midnight from the neighbors. Midnight. They're 9 and 6. I fell asleep. My wife had to put them to bed. Like we went out to dinner, came back. They were at some kid's house for till midnight.
Right.
You know, my wife went over there. They're having a good time. Like, I just don't see that as much in Santo Domingo, in like where you're living.
I would probably have to agree that it may be more family oriented, but what I would disagree is that it's more things to do for kids in Santo Domingo.
You could be wrong. It's okay.
No, I'm right.
It's okay that you're wrong. Here's the thing: Punta Cana has a lot of the things Santo Domingo has, like pequeño, like miniature version.
Right.
Like there's a trampoline park. There's like 3 trampolines. Go to Summit.
Yeah.
In Sanville is
Right.
like, I mean, that you can't. I never see the end of it. It's
Right.
huge
It's
going
huge,
through it,
yeah.
right? Then you got the indoor go-karts that goes
Right.
outside. It's insane.
Right.
Supermarkets, bookstores, all that. Like, yeah, you can find them here, but I mean, you cannot compare what you can get in Santo Domingo to here. Like, you're just everything's in Santo Domingo.
I would say it really.
But it's still not a better place.
I think it all comes down to really the type of person you are. If you're young, you don't have to be young, but you can be, vibrant, energetic.
Yeah.
You want to live in Santo Domingo.
I just had that conversation with somebody through DM.
If you are, if you're looking to be laid back, less authentic, if you're not looking for that really, really authentic
that's where it's
Dominican experience, then
You're
Punta
Naco.
Cana is for
You're
you.
in freaking Naco. Let's not make it like you're sitting in Capotillo.
And see, and I think that's what people get it wrong too. They think that because you're in Naco and Piantini, that you're like in a bubble. But when you can just literally walk across the street,
Sure.
and you're right there at the experience. Like I could walk across the street from where I live at, and I'm in a place called is Sanchez Kennedy to get my hair cut.
Sure.
And it's like a 3-minute walk, 3 or 4 minute walk.
I can drive 7 minutes and be in the same thing.
I can walk
I
3
get
minutes.
it. I get it. But my point is, like, I can go into Verón and I have the same experience. I can go get pan de agua at this incredible little shop in the middle of Verón across from a ferreteria. I can do all of that in Verón, but it's over there. I can go do that. You know?
I wanted to ask you that about the biggest misconception about DR, but I know one of them about Puntacana is that you don't get the authentic Dominican experience here. I think that's a misconception.
You're seeing me, right?
But because
Not seeing me.
you have to drive 7 minutes, I can walk 3 minutes, so it's a difference.
Go out to the traffic circle, go up, take a left. You're there.
So what's the biggest misconception about Dominican Republic?
Dominican Republic?
In general?
That it's dangerous. That it's severely underdeveloped. I don't know, man. Like, have you been to Mocha?
No.
Okay. Have you been to Higüey?
Yes.
Okay. So Higüey is a big city. It's chaos.
It is.
Chaos. That's a hard city to drive in.
Right, yeah.
Like the roads, everything. It's insane. But dude, like, when I say DR is developed, that people will automatically knee jerk to your bubble.
Right.
Naco, Piantini, Puntacana, whatever, right? But then, like, I don't know, man. Like, I go a lot of places. Like, I've been in Mocha. Mocha, 5 o'clock on a Friday or Thursday. You go into a gas station there, man. Like, there's workers in there drinking Presidente, listen to music. The electric's going. Lights are working. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
people are around. They're having a drink. They're doing their thing. Like,
Right.
I get it. There's definitely infrastructure improvements that need to be made. Trash is an issue in a lot of the country. Like, all of that. But, man, like, maybe it's a comparison from 15 years ago when I first came here to today. Like, I would venture to guess that you'll find, it is harder to find these, like, crappy, cruddy, underdeveloped, like, extreme poverty areas. Like, if I said to you, take a car and go, I think you're going to have a harder time finding that than you will what feels like the United States development.
Right.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
if I drive from here to Santo Domingo, I'm going to go past insanely nice rest stations, rest stops, a very well done highway, no potholes, right? It's just, you kind of fly through.
Right.
I'm going to hit Santo Domingo, and there's giant buildings and you know, traffic and traffic lights and restaurants and bars, and it's vibrant, right? Then I'm going to head north, and I'm going to either go to Las Terrenas or I'm going to go over to Cabarete. Either way, I'm going through Vida Altagracia, and there we have a place there we go to Michi that we'd love to go to. It's got amazing artisan ice cream in this little podunk town. Jarabacoa, if you were just to drive into it, you might be like, oh my God, because it's a little chaotic.
Right,
but
right.
dude, some of the
Once you
restaurants.
get into it,
oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Like the places like Pele and Vista del Campo and some of these restaurants, like they're nicer than any restaurants I have in my town in Michigan.
Right.
And keep on going, man. Punta Rusia, we went up to Punta. Have you ever
Well,
been up there?
you got to pass Santiago, which is nice.
Santiago is
Yeah.
great, right? I always forget. I always forget.
Hey,
Santiago.
Jonah, he forgot Santiago.
I always forget Santiago. Sorry, Jonah. But Punta Rusia, have you ever been there?
Yeah, no, I haven't. That's on my bucket list.
That's way out. It's way out, and you can go to Cayo Arena from there. But Punta Rusia is a little nothing town, but we stayed in a really cool Airbnb. It was like a tree house almost, and the guy that owned it had a little restaurant. He brought us breakfast in the morning, and you know what I mean? Like we didn't lose it on any roads.
Right.
Like so I think the biggest misconception is, it's like yes, there's poverty. Yes, there's trash buildup. Yes, there's infrastructure upgrades. Yes, there's roads like Carretera Maya. I don't know if you've ever taken that, but that road is a mess. That goes from here to Santo Domingo. Yes, there's roads like that, and there's problems like that, but I think I truly believe if I gave somebody a car and said, you've never been here before, just kind of drive around, like they would struggle to find like the areas that are really bad. If they hit them, don't get me wrong, like
Right.
holy crap,
Right.
everything puckers.
Right.
But I think they're going to find like, wow, actually I drove kind of one end of the country to the other, and like, yeah, there's some little towns I went through that were like kind of shanty or whatever, but people were whatever, speed bumps.
Yeah, people going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
You know they are.
What do you think? Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right.
Why do they disagree with it?
Because it's a perception.
Who's disagreeing with it, do you think, though? Give me the avatar. Where are they? What are they?
Dominicans?
Dominicans where?
in the United States.
Have they been here in the last 10 years?
Probably not.
Or if they have, they've only gone to like the campo that their family's from?
Right, and they definitely pull their experience from where they go, not where they actually land when they get here. So they go from the airport to that campo, and then they view everything around it as just like that.
If I went to my wife's grandmother, wife's aunt's in Higuay, that's all I ever did. Yeah, Dominican Republic would feel like what did Trump say? A shithole country.
Right.
It would feel like that,
Right.
right? Like bars on the window, motos going by, you know, the whole night. Like where my wife's grandmother lived, I remember there was a mouse in the stove. And I was like, oh my God, there's a mouse in the stove. They're like, yeah. There was one like, that's Lenny, leave him alone. Like, you know, it's like no big deal. But as an American, it freaked me out. If that was my whole purview, then fine. But that's not Dominican Republic. That's the other thing I think people make the mistake of is like, that's like saying United States.
Right.
You know, it's like there's a lot of, it's a big country in a lot of ways.
Like Alabama is the United States, part of the United States, but you got L.A., you got Manhattan, you got Las Vegas, you got Miami, Houston, So that's a big misconception. I think the other misconception is that Punta Cana is not part of Dominican Republic. That drives me absolutely up a wall. That makes you mad.
It does.
It's not really though.
Jesus Christ. Here's why. Upper West Side of Manhattan, is that not the United States?
It is.
Right? Are those not Americans living there?
It is.
Right? When you come here, Manuel, who owns this place, what did he look like to you?
Dominican.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there are mostly Dominicans that live here. Now, they might be on the higher end of the socioeconomic spectrum. They lived in the States or Europe and came back, and they make U.S. Who knows? But they're Dominicans. So is it not the real Dominican? There was a guy actually that did a video. He put me on his thumbnail in Spanish, and I thought, oh, is he about to crap talk me? But what he was saying was like, hey, this guy's running around talking about Punta Cana, and everybody's telling him it's not the real Dominican Republic. He's like, that hurts Dominicans. To look at like only real Dominican is poor and impoverished and lack of infrastructure. And that's what makes me mad, honestly, is like, I know too many people here who came from nothing, my wife included, and through circumstances that her mother put her in or that circumstances of their own, they pulled themselves up and they said, I want to move to this area because of how well off it is and whatever, that are Dominicans. And when people dismiss them, it's the same thing we were talking about, man, at lunch. The American dream, everybody's good with the American dream until it's achieved. Then you become the villain. And it's the same thing here. Everybody's good with the guy sitting in Higuay who goes from like dirt poor to doing well until he does well. Then he becomes disconnected, not a real Dominican. You know, you don't understand the plight, all that stuff. It's like, I hate that stuff, man.
I get that a lot of times when people, because I stay in Naco, or you live, you need to live, you don't live amongst the people. It's like, in my building, everybody's Dominican.
Right, what are they?
Right.
Yeah.
And they're not regular, what is a regular Dominican?
Yeah, I hate that too, because you're saying poor.
Right, that's what they're saying.
Imagine saying that about Americans. A regular American is poor. Imagine if we called Americans, regular American is the guy is the homeless guy.
Right.
That's a regular American. Like, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I don't get it, man. That's we talk about like what you see on the other side, looking back into the looking glass. You know. It's amazing the perspective you gain when you step away, and then you look back and see. And I don't know about you, but like maybe your wife was already creating content. But did it make you insecure with your content when you would get that pushback from like a Dominican? Because you are. I'm like, look, I'm a white dude, man. Like, you're a Dominican, I get it. Like, maybe I'm wrong here because this guy on my YouTube channel, or 4 of them, said this about what I'm saying that I'm wrong. You know, that might be coming from a privileged place, and you know, I used to get really insecure about that.
For me, I didn't get insecure. Actually, it pisses me off. But
now it does.
I don't get insecure because my wife was born here.
Yeah.
She spent my wife was raised here.
Oh, the same thing.
Your wife was raised here?
No. Like, the same thing. I'm sorry. Yeah. So your wife was here. I don't mean
she
same
was
thing,
born here and she was raised here as an adult. So, and she has a background of being and living in an area that's less unfortunate. So, for you to tell me that I don't know what's going on when my wife lived this.
That one hit me.
That one hit me. Yeah, my wife lived it. So I know, so I get a lot of my perspective, or some of my perspective, just from being around her, being around her family, seeing how they are, where they live. So I understand the culture. So when people say this, like, you don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, my wife moved when she was young.
And here's the thing I don't like is people feel like you got to be in somebody's shoes just to understand it.
Yeah.
No, I don't have to be. I got eyes.
Yep.
You know, I can see what's going on.
Your lived experience.
Right. Yeah.
I know. It drives me nuts, man. But you know, it's funny. Like, most people don't comment.
Right.
You know, like most people are just following along. When I hosted that thing at Hasta la Tambora with those people that came in, Dominicans that moved here, they make a good buck. They're like, yeah, I make $300-400 grand a year. I live here, but I earn it there. But they're like, dude, I love your stuff. Like, I've never heard from these people before. They don't comment, they don't do anything.
Right.
But they just watch and that resonates with me. I get that. He's right.
Right.
You know, but they see all these haters in there. Some guy sitting in Washington Heights or whatever who hasn't been here in 12 years.
Right.
But no, my wife moved when she was 12, to be clear. So she did not grow up here. She was only until about the age of 12.
What part of Dominican culture that you like the most?
Like we talked about, connectedness of people, 100%. I love that part of Dominican culture. I think the thing that really hits me when I see it is the reverence, the stop all things when it comes to certain people, elderly, pregnant woman, women, but pregnant woman, children.
Exactly.
Life stops. I don't care if you're like, I don't care if you're the Haitian worker. Doing something, whatever, or you're like the owner of a major business here. Like, if a kid comes in, man, life stops. Everything is about that kid.
Right.
We have waiters that we see at restaurants all the time, and my kids will come and he'll come, like this one guy, Joel de la Cava, he's a great guy. He'll come like bolting out of the restaurant on duty, like he's waiting tables. Maybe our table, maybe not. But our kids are like riding their bikes out in like the plaza there while we're sitting outside at the restaurant. He runs after them, and the way that the people here, like Bible on the flag, that Christian value around stand up if there's somebody elderly, get out of their way, like open the door for them. Women as well, pregnant women, like push. I've seen people literally help them shop, like if they're super pregnant or old or whatever, you know? And then kids, man, like that's why I say school shootings, like if you said somebody here, like somebody's gonna go in and kill all the kids in a school, like that is like, are you kidding me here?
It's a foreign concept.
Crazy concept. So I feel like the just the respect for one another, and specifically for those like, what would you call like more pure or vulnerable, if that's the word. I love that about this culture. I love that. I had that when I was growing up. I'm sure you did too. And I feel like it's departed a bit in the States.
Yeah, it has.
And so I like that about here for sure.
Have you faced any challenges raising your kids in the Dominican Republic?
Not specific to the Dominican, meaning like because of the Dominican is a challenge?
Because you're being here that's different than the U.S.?
No, quite the opposite. The biggest challenge might be like they see more here than you would there in terms of real poverty and stuff like that. So those conversations can be hard, but really necessary. Like I love that we have them. I mean, I hate that those people are going through it, but you get my point. But we drove through El Hoyo, which is like a Haitian community up north. Holy cow, man! Like you want to talk about bad living, and so for my kids to look around like that's a house, somebody lives in that. Like what? Like those conversations are tough, but they're necessary. No, honestly, there's not something here, unless I'm not thinking of it. Do you have something with your daughter?
No, actually, I was gonna say my daughter's schedule is busier than mine. Actually, just trying to navigate all the things that they got to do.
My wife does.
is more challenging.
Dude, right now my kids go to school, soccer, hip hop dance, swimming, and tennis. Right. That we're trying to get them into baseball, right? Like not like in addition, but like what do they put down? But this is them. We're not pushing them in these. Like the only way we push them on is swimming. We want them to have that skill. The rest they're wanting to do. But to your point, birthday parties for other kids, school events, like dude, social calendar is full. Like it's markedly different. And in fairness, our kids were young going through COVID, so we didn't have that like full public school thing there, but. No, man, no challenge. Like the biggest challenge, my oldest son, because we said a year, he kind of like denied wanting to learn Spanish, and he got it, but with resistance. And now that we're going on year 3, like he's like loosening up and allowing himself, like, okay, this is home. But that's like our challenge within the DR. But like the challenge of raising kids here, I don't think that sounds like an oxymoron. It's been better to raise kids here.
Gotcha. I agree. So, what has your journey taught you about success, happiness, and fulfillment?
That the pursuit of that is what gives you everything else you want. The pursuit of happiness, not the pursuit of money. The pursuit of fulfillment, not the pursuit of status or whatever. Everything kind of comes. I would say I would say when in doubt, add value. I think that's a huge thing that I've learned. Like the more value you add, the more value will come back to you. Don't expect it, but it will. And I would say you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So if you've got a job and don't want a job, and all you're hanging out with is people with jobs, you got to go find people that don't have jobs, right? You got to go find people, entrepreneurs, investors, whatever it is you want to be, and you got to get around them all the time. Dude, I spend $20,000 a year for that. Again, it's worth it. It's the best investment, not spend. That's another thing.
It's an investment.
Employee mindset is that's to spend. Entrepreneur mindset is that's an investment.
Right.
I invest that in events and communities I belong to or whatever, because you're the average of who you surround yourself with. Your life will change. If you want 6-pack abs and you hang out with people with 6-pack abs, you're going to get 6-pack abs.
Yeah.
So you got to surround yourself with the right people.
So what is your advice to people who are like stuck in these golden handcuffs in a job that's unfulfilling to them, and they want to get out and do something different?
Okay, I like this. Number one, you got to start. So choose and go. Because here's the thing that happens. People believe that whatever they choose is the thing they got to do for the next 10, 20, 30 years. Right. Because that's what everything else is. School is 12 years plus college, or 13, they say 17 years. Career was 21 years, however long it is for you. So it's like, okay, the next chunk of time, I'm going to have to choose what I'm going to do. I don't know, I'm not sure. So they sit and they wait and they wait and they wait. The reality is, and I think you know this, that you're going to pivot faster than anything else you've done in your life when you don't have the confines and structure of a job. So start and know that whatever you're starting with likely will change to something else. I always say I started I bought duplexes and then maybe some multifamily, and now I'm a YouTuber, right? Like, but that's not like I went from one to the other. No, it was along the way. Like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm going to create some content to bring people into my network so I can buy more real estate. I kind of like this content creation thing, and then it just sort of morphs and pivots over time, right? And it's like, oh, real estate content. Now let me do more entrepreneurial content. Well, I have a membership community I can build on that. There's a business. I didn't think of that. I was going to buy real estate, right? And then blah blah blah. And now I'm running around the country filming myself. It's I think people have to just start. Number one, and understand the pivot. That's one. The second thing I would say is your biggest fear is not failure. Your biggest fear is judgment of that failure. So my thought is, if you fail and nobody sees it, you wouldn't care.
Right.
But it's failing and people seeing it that makes you care. And you know how you get over that? You surround yourself with people that are ahead of you, because nobody ahead of you ever looks down on you for your failures. You want to be in that room, so when you fail, you say, guys, I failed. Like, great, no problem. We can help you pick you up because we've done that too.
Right.
But if you're with your regular community, your regular friends, your coworkers, they're rooting for you to fail because they want you to be safe and back in whatever it was you were doing before.
That's true.
So, and then the third thing I would say is on failure. If you're an employee, failure is employee or a student. Failure is a bad thing. You're branded with it. It's a scarlet letter. You're an F student. As an entrepreneur or working on your own, failure is something you pursue as quickly as you possibly can.
Exactly.
And you celebrate when you hit it, because now you know what not to do and you can move on.
You learn from it. Right.
Those are my thoughts.
What do you got going on? I know you and I were talking earlier. You got a new podcast you're doing. Talk to us about that real quick.
So I've had Tribe of Millionaires for 4 years. It's been great. It's not my podcast, right? I partnered up and hosted it on behalf of this community I belong to. And that's all good. But I've always had to make sure it was relevant to entrepreneurs and everything. And I'm at a place where with my creation, my content creation, like I'm not going to just all of a sudden talk about a whole bunch of different stuff on a channel that I've dedicated to my life in the Dominican Republic.
Right.
But I need that outlet as a creative. I need the outlet to just be me, say what I feel politically, sports, culturally, or whatever. So I just announced I'm stepping down as host of Tribe of Millionaires, which is a top 1% show in the world. We grew it to a nice size, man. Really, really good audience and everything. And I'm starting a new show that I'm filming right now. It's called My Way. And My Way will be a combination of me alone going off on topics that mean something to me with passion. Nothing related to the Dominican. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But also interviewing people around things that I didn't get the chance to ask them. So like Sean Casey's a baseball player. I had him on Tribe of Millionaires. We talked about mindset. I wanted to know who the nastiest pitcher he faced was. I wanted to know about a bench clearing brawl where he got ejected and suspended 3 games. Like, I want to talk about those stories. Right. So like, that's to me what My Way is. Right. It's not for anyone but me. And if somebody listens and it resonates, great. It's kind of the approach. Tribe of Millionaires was more like, I got to make this to make sure it's relevant to this audience who's looking for tips on entrepreneurship. Right.
Content that's pretty much unpolished but polished.
Unpolished but polished. I like that. Yeah. It's just raw. So if some people here that follow me, or on my channel that follow me and come over there, they may hear me say things politically they don't agree with, and they may leave.
Right.
Okay. Leave. Okay. That's my take on my way.
Right. All right, so last question. Do you have a you won't believe story here in DR?
Yeah. I mean, this is what jumps to mind. It involves bond reservists, the bank. I still to this day can't believe it. We didn't get a bank account here for like a year.
Wow.
It was always like, we'll get it, we just didn't. And so when we would pay our cleaning lady, my wife would have to deposit it into her bond reservist account. And the way you would do that is you'd go in, my wife would hand her cedula with the deposit slip and the money, and they would deposit it into Our Lady's account. So one day she's like, oh, just pull into the drive-thru at Bond Reservice here in Puntacana. I'm like, okay. So I pull in, go around, and we come to the window. Only one's there. No one else there. And that little like drawer opens up. Remember that? Like the It used to be like chutes on one side, and the drawer opens up. I take the cedula, all the stuff, and I drop it in there, and it closes. And the lady back there goes, oh, this isn't you. I'm like, oh, no. Here's my wife right here. My wife kind of picks over like, hi. And she's like, oh, you need to be in the driver's seat. We're like, you're kidding, right? She's like, no, she needs to be in the driver's seat for me to do this deposit. Okay, fine. I'm like, all right, so we take off our seatbelts, open the doors, right? She's like, no. You need to leave, switch seats, and go back through the drive-thru, the whole thing again, with her in the driver's seat. And we just like stared at her. My wife, I think, probably went after her a little bit. My wife always fights. And so, like, whatever. So dude, no one there still. We get out, we switch seats. My wife gets in the driver's seat. We pull around, and the lady, it was almost like, it was like she had, it was like the Men in Black wand, like, was flashed for her. She's like, hello. Like oh, you're new to me. I don't know you. I knew the guy. I don't know you, right? Like, so my wife said, here you go, deposit the thing. It was just like, so many stories like that. The only other one I could think of was at Santo Domingo Cafe, knowing how long they can take sometimes. Again, me only and my buddy Grant. We walk up to the counter, I go to and I pull out my phone, like, watch this. I turn on the timer. There's a lady behind the counter, she's doing something, and there's like 3 people like running around in the back. No one in there. 0 people in line or sitting down. This lady is barking out orders to the other one. She's stapling things together. She's doing all this stuff. And we're sitting there. She hasn't said a word to us, hasn't acknowledged nothing. And I'm just like showing her my phone with the timer ticking. 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Not an acknowledgement, not a, I'm sorry guys, just 1 second. Just, Done, does the thing. And it was like, what? Oh, you gotta be kidding me, right? Like, and I think she said E. Like, that was it. You're like, what do you guys want? We're like, are you kidding? We sat here for 7 minutes, and that's so, like, those stories, like, you wouldn't believe it unless you experience. Like, my buddy, I told him how slow like it could be, and he was blown away. He's like, you gotta be kidding me! It actually happened. Those are my 2.
Yeah, customer service here is non-existent.
Yeah, bad in the States too, though.
Right, really?
Bad in the States, but they're nicer about it.
Right.
I'm so sorry, sir. Right. I'm so sorry that we couldn't do that for you. Yeah, it's against our policy. I'm so sorry. Oh, can I give you one more? I can't believe this.
Right.
Can I give you one?
Yeah.
Do we have time? Are you going to run out of battery?
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
This is, and look, people say I'm being paid by Grupo Puntacana.
Right.
I'm about to crap on them.
Right.
On Grupo Puntacana. Love Grupo Puntacana, but this one, what's happening? Something orange popped up. Everything's good?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, we have a white pass, not a pass, but like a badge to like scan out of the village. Like, it's something you buy. We paid $80 for it.
Yeah.
Access badge, right. Paid $80 for it, put it on our windshield. In July of this past year, we paid $80 for it. The owner, we rent, so the owner had to be there, and we pay Grupo Puntacana $80. We go away for August to the States, we come back in September, and it's not working. So we go and like change the badge, and it's not working. So first I go with the badge to the main office and say, hey, this isn't working. And they're like, okay, you need to go across the street to the maintenance office, give it to them, and they need to verify it. Like, what do you mean you need to verify it? Like, this is a community of homes worth $700 grand. People pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. What do you think I'm trying to do? You think I have time to give you a badge? Like, oh, I just want a new one? Like, for $80, you know what I mean? Like, why would I? It's not working. Just take me at my word here. But whatever, I go across the street, the guy takes it, and he's got to come back in an hour, let me go verify. Like, what do you mean let me go verify? Like, it's not working, whatever. So I come back in an hour. The maintenance guy says, yeah, it's not working. Oh, thanks. Sends me back over to the office, and I go in there, and the girl's getting it all set, and she's about to hand me the card, the replacement. She goes, oh, I can't give this to you. I was like, why not? She goes, we changed our policy in September. Only owners can have these cards, not renters. I'm like, but I got it in July. So like, I already had it, and it broke. You should just, like, grandfathered, it was kind of the concept, like, just replace it. No, sir. And she was getting really like, no. She was getting really attitude, right, kind of thing. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, what are you talking? Like, okay, whatever. Then pay me my $80 back. No, sir. The owner of the house has to pay you that back. I'm like, but I paid you. Yeah, she's like, yes, but the owner needs to pay you that. I'm like, okay. I had my cell phone on the table. I'm like, let's be clear here. Okay, let's say I go into the cell phone store and buy this cell phone, right? And it stops working within a month. And I come back to you at the cell phone store and say, it's not working, I need my money back. What you're saying is, like, the cell phone store person who sold me the phone and I paid them would say, oh, you want your money back? Wendy's will pay you that back. I'm like, that's what you just said to me. Why would the owner of the house pay me for something I paid you for? Like, right. Back, forth, back. I'm like, who's your boss? I got to talk to him. Not here till Monday. It was a Saturday. I'm like, great. So in the meantime, I email the marketing group. And they were great. They replied back, you're absolutely right. You're already in. Just so you know, you couldn't get a new one. I'm like, that's what I told her. Like, I understand that if I walked in today, your policy changed. I can't get a new one because I'm a renter. I respect that. That's your policy. But I already had one. So they were like, go to the office. It's already waiting for you. Dude, I walked into that office. The girl that I saw on Saturday was there. And it was like, she handed me the card with such attitude. I was like, thank you. And walked out the door. Oh man, I couldn't believe the logic. So yeah, that stuff drives me nuts.
So where can they find you?
Anywhere on YouTube at @TheJamie Gruber. You can check out my channel, Instagram at @TheJamie Gruber, and yeah, those are probably the best two places.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Gruber.
Appreciate you, brother.
So what do you think about the cigar?
It's good.
It's good.
I don't know if I'll do it again. It's not like I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get like, why would I do this?
Right.
But it's good. It's fine.
Did it relax you?
No. I'm never relaxed, dude. I'm hyper like that. But did you notice I had a couple good puffs in there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you. Thanks for teaching me.
You're welcome.
Thanks to Ritual, too, for hosting us.
Yeah, thanks for Ritual for hosting this collaboration. So, guys, always keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Always live in the present, because that's the only way you're going to live your best life. And we out. Peace.
Appreciate you, brother.
Je begot aan mijn best life, yeah. Je begot aan mijn best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. Je begot aan mijn best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing, no, no.